Greetings, YouTube. I heard something recently and in a discussion about names, about how they have power, because they do. But I also read something recently, I think it was on Tumblr, that names are a gift, and they are. So you combine those two concepts, that names have power and names are gifts. And I think it helps frame the importance of names. Some cultures have completely different naming procedures and traditions than we do in America and most sections of Europe. I can't speak for all sections of Europe. Europe's a place with a great deal of diversity when it comes to cultures. But in America, we have a great deal of homogeny here. And the tradition is that you get a name and you live with it forever. But I know people who've changed my name. My sister changed her name. Why? Because she didn't like it. That's simple. She just didn't like her first name. So in college, she changed it. I know trans people who have changed my name. My ex changed his name. In fact, he changed all of his names. He kept my last name, and then he changed his first and middle name. So now he doesn't have any of the names that he was born with. Not to mention, he's no longer the gender that he got assigned to his birth certificate. And he's a trans man and a hell of a lot happier. But people change names when they get married, or they don't change names when they get married. And to some people, that's seen as a political decision, when in actuality, that's someone's name. And if they feel an attachment to it for either personal or professional reasons, not changing it when you get married is completely up to them. But in our culture in America, it's the woman that changes her name. In fact, if you were for men who have changed their name to their wife's name, and it has happened, that's seen as very controversial. That'll piss off dudes so much when they find that out. I knew a guy who he and his wife they're getting married, and they decided to just combine their names, not hyphenate them, but literally combine them to create an entirely new collection of letters and a name that has never existed, simply because they wanted to show this as a union of two people and their lives, and their children would bear the name that their parents brought to the relationship. They became a family by marriage, and they are then passing that familial name onto their kids. Be intriguing to see what they do, because it was a long ass name. If their kids keep doing that, it's gonna be like alphabet soup in no time at all. But names are also gifts, and if you get a gift and it doesn't fit, it's entirely appropriate to return that gift and get one that does fit. Or maybe it fits in one way and it doesn't fit in another. You don't like the color or the cut, even though the fit physically is okay. And it's completely appropriate to take it back and say, hey, I'd like to exchange this for another item. And you exchange it for another item, and you say, hey, I'm really happy with this new outfit. Thank you for your time, and you go on. And when my ex changed his name, it was remarkably easy. I don't think it's a lot more complex now. And this was back in the 90s, so I think it was the 90s, yeah, and it was like $25 and took 15 minutes. In fact, he said, suddenly I found myself outside the courthouse, and I'm like, what just happened? It was very fast. Sometimes getting your name changed is more difficult. I work with a woman who has a grandson that is a trans boy, not quite a trans man yet. He's still under 18. And he wanted to get his name changed, and he picked a perfectly reasonable name to pick. It was not traditional masculine name, but a masculine signaling name. And his father got all upset about this, because how dare you change your name? Because his father was not supportive of the fact that he's a trans boy. Well, his mother and his grandparents are, and his friends are. His girlfriend is. He's got a nice network of folks that are supporting him, except for his father, who has had almost nothing to do with his life, does not pay child support regularly like he's supposed to, has never paid child support regularly like he's supposed to, has disappeared, I believe, for years on end, um, and yet suddenly decides that he's going to step right up there and say, hey, no, you can't do that. Thankfully, he didn't actually show up to the courthouse when it came time to make that decision, and the judge looked at the record, looked at the medical reports about the person, and said, it's a perfectly reasonable thing to do. The court rules in your favor. Here's your new name. And now that's his name, because his old name didn't fit him. Now the new one does. My sister's old name didn't fit her, and she's happy with the new one. I think that's fine. I had considered changing my last name at one time because I had a contentious relationship with my father. It's much better now than it was at one time. But there's no one to carry on my name, which is also a tradition of names. People use their names to show a link with their family's past, and there's no one to carry on my name. My sister took her husband's name and took her birth last name as her middle name. So she has that name is still there, and the original middle name she had is no longer used at all. But she didn't particularly like that name. It was the name of a priest, because I was baptized by that priest, and said priest was dead by the time my sister was born, and my mother had wanted him to baptize her. My sister's not a real fan of the Catholic Church, nor am I. So not real happy about the fact that I am and was baptized. I wish I had not been. And my sister was, and she didn't want to have a priest's name attached to her life anymore, so now it's gone. So now she has a new first name, her old last name as her middle name, and a new last name. So her name is different than it was on the birth certificate as well. And she's okay with that. But I'm the last guy in my family with my name that can carry it on. And it's not gonna happen. No kids. I'm 57. I've got none. I'm not even going to make the joke about saying I don't, not any that I know about, because I know I don't have any kids. I was pretty damn careful with that kind of thing. So the name dies. My bloodline doesn't, because my sister has 2 kids. So the bloodline will continue, just not with our names. And I kind of feel bad for my nephews because they've got our genetics. Though my sister's genetics are better than my genetics. I'm not quite sure why. And from what I can tell, both of them seem to have better genetics, though my older nephew does seem to have a certain level of anxiety about the world, so he may have gotten that from the male side of our family, because that runs in our side of the family as well. Yeah, the depression and anxiety. That's another great thing came with my genes, along with the bad teeth and eyes and baldness. So yeah, names are power and names are gifts. And if the name you carry that you were gifted does not feel like one that gives you power, turn it in for one that does. Be yourself. Live in your power. Show the world who you are. If that lines up with the name you were born with, cool. Kind of like gender that way. But if it doesn't line up with the name you were born with, also cool. Again, kind of like gender. So, be yourself. Live in your power. And make sure that your name is a gift to you.